If anyone told me 11 years ago when I started writing that I could write and publish a book in 24 hours and publish a book in 24 hours, I would have told them that they're lying. That was impossible. As a matter of fact, in 2014, when I was told that I could write, I didn't believe it, and it took me 10 years before I could write my first book. But once I was convinced and had a reason to write, I started writing real fast. And so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about my writing journey and how, in recent times, in about a year or so, I've been writing and publishing books in 24 hours. And so I'm going to invite you to stick around for this masterclass to learn more about my 24-hour writing and publishing sprints. And then you can decide if this is something you also want to try. Remember, the future belongs to authors who are authorpreneurial. And masterclass is now in session. Stay tuned.
Welcome, C. Ruth Taylor.
All right, so let's get into it. Writing and publishing a book in 24 hours. Is it possible? Let's back up. So, I'm Kamika Ruth Taylor, author of, at this stage, it's about 37 books. By the end of the year, I should have 40 published books. Now, not all of those books are in print. My first book, Heartache Queen Unshackled, is no longer in print. It was revised and republished as Unshackled Queen 5 years later. Stuff taken out, stuff added, and the book had so much depth that it was eventually split into two or three other books, right? So when I wrote that first book, On the Heels of a Broken Engagement, in 2014, I wrote that book in 11 days, and it was almost 68,000 words. No, November coming is what they call NaNoWriMo, where aspiring authors or existing authors are challenged to write a book and publish that book. No, to write a fiction book of 50,000 words in 30 days. That's like 1,600 and something words per day. So that would be a standard fiction book, right? 50,000 words and over. There are those who are writing fiction books over 100,000, but 50 to 70,000 would be a standard average size, full length novel. And so when I wrote my first book in 11 days, I was even out doing what the people in NaNoWriMo are doing, and I didn't even know that, right? So I was out doing that. And so when I checked what my average word count was, it would have been over 6,000 words per day. No, that is a standard nonfiction book. I wrote my memoir the first time. My second book, When Trees Talk, I took about 90 days to write that, and that was over 40,000 words. My next book after that, I think, is Keys to Win at Life. Again, may have been over 40,000 words, and I took my time to write it. So I haven't been writing all my books in 24 hours, but things changed in 2018, November 2018, when we had the first idea to book or idea to manuscript in 30 days challenge. A friend of mine, when I was explaining to her about my fourth book, that I had written that book in 10 days, and within 70 days, the book was published. She was like, why don't you teach a course on how to write a book in 30 days. And I was like, I'm not so sure this can be replicated. Let me test it. And so when we started the first author in the entrepreneurs group and had our first writing challenge, I decided I was going to write a book. Within 3 days, I had written the first edition of this book, Authorpreneur Secrets. I knew I wanted to write this book for training, and I wanted to share some of the secrets that I had found, how to write fast, publish cost effectively, and use your book to generate money. That's the Authorpreneur Secrets. That's my formula. So this was over 23,000 words originally in 3 days. Now, if you do the math with that, 23,000 words in 3 days is how many that? 3,000 divided by 3, that's over 7,666 words in a day. And I wasn't writing like the entire day. That's just the word count for the day. And so I was scared to tell the folks in the group in 2018 that I was finished. So I went on to write another book on the challenge. And I think I ended up with 3 books. And then I decided that for 2020, I wanted to have 20 published books. So I wanted to, I decided that I needed 20 books in a year, right? And this is before ChatGPT. This is 2018. I didn't know about ChatGPT. I only learned of ChatGPT, I think, in 2023. I started using it. I heard about it, but didn't understand it. And then somebody suggested it. So all of these rocket writing stuff was done pre-AI. I've been a rocket writer from day one, clocking over 6,000 words per day, writing, not even speaking. Because if you speak your book, you will go faster. But why I'm giving you the backstory and why I call myself a rocket writer is because from day one, I was writing fast. It took me 11 days to write a standard non-fiction book, my memoir. And this book, which has been extremely helpful, the first edition, it was done in 3 days. So when I wrote those 20 manuscripts in a year, I didn't publish all of them immediately. It took me months to publish some of them. And it was by November 2020, I had all the books out. So I published 16 books in a year. My first book, it took, though it was written fast, with the editing, the self-doubt, and the stress of raising the money to publish, because I was working through a publisher. I was unemployed, didn't have all the money, and the publishing cost without printing and stuff was almost 5,000 US dollars when we convert everything. It took me 9 whole months to publish. So what happens when the impossible becomes your norm? So even when I did the 20 books of 2020 challenge, I was not writing and publishing a book in a literal 24 hours. But on that challenge, what I discovered is that if I wrote smaller books, not 40,000 words, not 60,000 words, but a small book that can give a big impact, that I would be finished. Remember, my average speed is over 7,600 words per day. Writing on my phone, writing on the computer. So, rocket writer, no AI. It wasn't until, so I said, I discovered that if I wrote smaller books, then I would be finished faster. And a small book that would give you a little bit of a spine, easy to read, it, for me, was between 10,000 and 30,000 words, 25,000 being a sweet spot. That could give me a book of 150 pages, 5 by 8, 5.25 times 8. If it is a workbook or something, then you can add lines and different things, and you can fatten up the book so you can get a bigger spine. In that season, when I was doing the 20 books in a year, I decided that I wanted a book in different genres, right? And so I knew I wanted a journal, I wanted some workbooks, I wanted memoirs, I wanted teaching stuff, and I made a list. I wanted motivational and inspirational books. So within this, I'm telling you what my secret are and how I did it. So I made a list of 20 of the types of books that I could write. And even when I wrote my first book, I had the idea. I wrote a rough outline, meaning the topics and the things I wanted to share, and I put that down. And then I, with the first book, I wrote some on physical paper. I wrote some on my computer, finished everything on the computer afterwards. But this year, we're starting December 2024, was the first time that I actually wrote and published a book in 24 hours. And that book was a book called Small Book, Big Impact. I was working on Better Than I Dreamed, right? And that book took me, what, 3 years? So not all my books are fast. I was working on Better Than I Dreamed, How Painful Journeys Lead to Beautiful Destination. And I had what I would consider a bonus chapter because my writing, my lifestyle, everything is built on a small book in the Bible, the book of Ruth, a small love story, and that has shaped my life. But Ruth is part of an anthology, and Ruth only has 4 chapters. It's a little, I think, over 2,500 words um, in English, right? So I said small books, and I had this chapter about how the book of Ruth can inform us about writing. So I shared it with a friend, and she was like, this shouldn't be a bonus item. This should be a book on its own. So I had 10 tips, and she said that should be a book on its own, and it can be a small book because I was talking about small books, big impact. And that became the title of the book. So what I did, I took those 10 tips and I expanded on them, the concepts. I turned what was one chapter into an entire book of 60 odd pages. And what I did is that I had these drafts. So I write the draft, and then for the first time, I put it in Chat GPT and I asked it to refine it for me. So with each draft, I would write out the draft, type it up on the computer, then I put it in Chat GPT, and this was December 2024. And then it would refine it. And I was like, okay, good, 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 good. I was happy. And she said, why not add some affirmations or some reflection exercises? Write this like you're teaching a class or a lesson. And I'm a teacher by profession, right? I went to the Michael University. Back then it was Michael Teachers College, right? So I did that. And I found that it was a small book. It wasn't beyond, I don't think it surpassed, it's a little less than 5,000 words. So I had that done, and I just felt a compulsion. Let me just release it. And so it took me maybe about 3 hours to finish the content. I put the draft in Chat GPT, had it edited. Remember that I had already gotten feedback on the book idea and the draft because I had read it to my friend and she shared some ideas. And then I decided, why not just publish it? No, when I publish the books in 24 hours, it's normally just the ebook because I've gotten into trouble with publishing print books without seeing a proof and then finding mistakes and having to pay to collect back all of the books that were printed, and that's costly. I've made it a rule that, which is a good practice, I will not publish a print book until I get a copy in my hand to read through because you miss things on screen. So the ebook, if you make a mistake, at least with Amazon, other platforms are not so generous. I can go back and I can correct any error that I see, and I will republish it. So I've been on Amazon for about 10 years. By the way, do not try this if you're a new author. Warning, warning, if you're a new author. I'm not encouraging you to do this, right? So I went into Canva and I looked at some book cover templates, and I used ChatGPT to help me to come up with some subtitles. And I designed the cover, which is just the front cover, the ebook. And in less than 24 hours, I had written and I had uploaded the book. Now, there's a tool, formatting tool called Atticus, which has formatting templates, and it helped. I had a template already. So I used ChatGPT to edit. I read the content out loud to myself to make sure everything is legit. I have the different parts of the book in place. So my dedication, my introduction. I'm not getting any endorsements for this. And I decided to just format it with Atticus and create my cover in Canva and upload it. And voila! I don't know if it's because I'm on Amazon for so long, but sometimes within an hour of clicking publish, submit my book to be published. I don't know why I feel so nervous. Submit my book to be published. It is published. Normally, the rule is that it should take 24 to 72 hours for your ebook to be published. Mine get published within an hour or two. And so these are some of the books that have been written in 24 hours. Now, Small Book, Big Impact. When I said written and published in 24 hours, it took me maybe about 3 hours to finalize the content for Small Book, Big Impact. $1 Million Book Secrets. I wrote that one and published it in a day as well. That one is almost 15,000 words. And most of it was from scratch. And because I am teaching what I already know or documenting my teaching, I already have proof of concept. So I didn't feel I needed to run it by anybody. And I use ChatGPT to help me with subtitles. I write my draft, then I put it in ChatGPT and say, please edit and refine without changing my voice or changing the essence of my story, because it will hallucinate, right? But I'm saying, if you're just joining me, I was writing fast from 11 years ago, over 6,000 words a day. So it's publishing some $1 Million Book Secrets. This time now with the cover, I asked ChatGPT to give me a cover. And I just describe the cover that I want. Sometimes when it is to come up with the cover, I may tell it types of books. I may even put a blurb in there or something, but I tell it to design it, and it came up with something that I really, really liked, which is the cover of $1 Million Book Secrets. So I didn't have to pay anybody to do it. So my 24-hour writing and publishing sprints are completely self-published. I am doing the editing, the cover design, and everything. The ones that I may do in 2 days or so, it gives me enough time if I want to outsource the cover, order on Fiverr. I can do express and get it back. The last book that I published in 24 hours last week, I wrote it and published it in 24 hours, is Starting Without Money. Now, I just woke up and said, oh, I kind of like hear things in my head. Maybe you think I'm crazy. It's time to write Starting Without Money. And I remember an article I did years ago on financial myopia. And so I searched for it. And I found out that was in 2014. I had written something on financial myopia, and that became like the foundation for it. And so I just felt compelled to write. A friend of mine had said to me at my 10th anniversary book launch celebration, she said, I kept talking about all the things I started without money and how the projects worked. And she said, why don't you write a book about starting without money? And I said, it's true, you know. And so I made a list of topics that I could talk about. So I'm giving you the process here, and then I'm going to show you a slide to put it all together. And I say, I'm going to tell these stories. These are true stories. Now, these 24-hour writing and publishing sprint, they are not books that I'm hoping to sell thousands of copies or millions of copies. I don't care about any publishing award for these books. I am not looking to win any literary prize with these books. I'm writing for the heart, Heart. I'm writing about things I'm familiar with in my own experience, and they are small books, usually anywhere from say 5,000 to 15,000 words for the regular book, and they give me anywhere from 50 pages up to 100 and something pages in this year, right? So I set myself 12 books I want to publish, have 12 books published this year. And what I do, I make a list of all the types of books that I want. And I say, I want to have a book in every genre. So I didn't have a children's book. And so I said, let me do a children's book. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I've never done a children's book. What would I talk about? And then it came to me. Oh, with stories, you need to have a conflict. You need to have, I want to write stories that give hope. So it sounds like I'm going all over the place, but I'm telling you my process, right? To give hope. And so I said, okay, I'm tired of writing about me in a sense and just putting it out there as a regular nonfiction. How about I fictionalize part of my own story? And that's how I write my fiction books too. I will hear of a story, or it's based on a true story, and then I add things to it. And then I just was it the evening or the morning I woke up with the idea, write a children's book. And I got the big idea about in my childhood, these dreams that I had and the dreams that I accomplished actually later. And that became the idea. And I just got on the computer after 5, I think, in the evening. And within an hour, because with a children's book, you don't need a lot of words. You maybe need 500 words, 1,000 words, 2,500, 3,000. For the very small ones, what you're going to need is a lot of illustrations. And to publish on Amazon, you need at minimum 24 pages, right? So I had that idea. So within 2 hours or so, I had finished the story. And I'm like, what about the illustrations? And then I was sharing with Aminata Koot, who is now like a writing and an author friend, right? That, hey, I wrote my first children's book. And she said, talk about the illustrations. Now I have somebody on Fiverr that I know could do the illustrations, and I was prepared to pay for them. It would have cost me over 200 US or 400 US for the illustrations. And she said a friend of hers used ChatGPT and Meta to do the illustrations for a free children's book and just put it out there. And I was like, what? But I heard that when you use ChatGPT, you don't get all the characters the same. Anyway, I decided to just experiment with it. What I did with the children's book now, you have to do what I call storyboarding. So I take the segments of the story and I decide the different scenes and describe the characters, what I want. And so I took the time to go through the story, describe the different scenes. And so I came up with the different scenes to match different parts of the story or the text. Then I fed into ChatGPT the text and like the lines from the story and the description of what I want. and it just started spitting out the illustrations. And so I think I got maybe about 5 illustrations, and then he said I needed a paid plan. So I paid $20 to get to the next level. And I decided that I don't want it to forget the type of illustrations that it is doing. So I decided to spend the whole night. I think I finished maybe 9 or 10 o'clock that night, getting the illustrations. And then I started formatting the children's book in Canva. So by the next day, I was tweaking the format, but within 24 hours, the book was finished, but I didn't want to release it immediately. So though Ari Dreams was written and illustrated within a 24-hour period, I did not publish it in 24 hours. 5 Days Forever is the same thing. I get an idea for the novel. Again, based on a true story, I decided to expand on the concept. I write my draft. I decide how I want the plot to go, right? So, what conflicts? It's a love story. It's church based. What's going to be the conflict? And I knew that you just make up the storyline, right? And then I kind of have in my head kind of like what chapters should be like, and I just start to write. I wasn't too strong on dialogue, so I write my draft, put it in ChatGPT, and I say refine this and fix up the dialogues. And so after I finish writing each chapter draft, I put it in there. So I keep my draft, and then I have another file called Clean Edit. So when ChatGPT fixes that up, I will read it through and I will say, you left out something that I had in my draft. Put this back in. Or I don't like how that sound. And so again, I know it's short, it's a novella. I don't want it to pass 15,000 or 20,000 words. And I know I want it to be more than 10,000 words. So it does that. Then I ask it to give me some titles. And it was what came up with 5 Days Forever. And then I would write like a draft description and ask chat to refine it. And so that's how I come up with my description. Or sometimes I have like an introduction and I put it there and I said, from this introduction, can you give me a 150 word book description or blurb synopsis and give me a hook? And so it gave me the hook. The same thing with Between Goodbye and Hello. That's another book written in 24 hours. And when you look at it, it is less than 24 hours because I go to sleep. So I'm not taking the full 24 hours. What I'm saying, if I start at 5 o'clock this evening, by 5 o'clock the next day, I would be finished. But I'm not even writing the whole day. Dare to Love Again were my poems. I didn't use any AI for that, except to edit. But AI did the cover. I used ChatGPT for the cover design. But in terms of the poems themselves, some of them I had written before, and some of them I just wrote them on spot. So I'm calling this 24 hours. For some of the writing is less than 24 hours because I go to sleep for 4 or 5 hours and then I wake up and I write. But that's my process. So again, I make a list of all the books I want to write. Is this going to be inspirational? Is it going to be a book of tips? Is it going to be a memoir? Is it going to be a how-to? Is it going to be a teaching? And so most times I start to write on my phone, take out the Samsung notes and I start to write. And then I would write like a chapter 1 and then I send it to my sister or I send it to a friend and say, read this. Does it make sense? Is this chapter grabbing, enticing? This is a big book idea that I have. And once I get the initial feedback that what may have sound good and it makes sense, then I don't bother contact them. Afterwards, sometimes I just finish write. For my novels, there's a writing mentor that helps me. My sister, my niece in the US, she helps me. and they would give me feedback. And there's a young lady at church with one of those books that I sent her like the first 2 chapters, and she said, "This sound good, man." So once I get that feedback, I go. No, again, don't try this if you're a new author, if you haven't done this. I am 10 years in. And so what you're looking at right now is an example of the last book that I did last week in 24 hours. I wrote down the ideas: financial myopia, mission trips, traveling, and you wanted to share some stories, and you wanted to keep the book small. And so this is what my outline look like. It is not even a very detailed outline. It's just the ideas. I'm going to starting without money. I have a school story on that. Missions. Oh yes, I used to do missions and travel. I never know where the money coming from. My grandma projects. I built the bathroom and the kitchen. Never have no money, and so I jot down the ideas. So that's the process. So my 24-hour writing and publishing process is simple, right? I'm writing books for the heart based on what I know, what I've tested. It's not books that I need to sell thousands of copies. It's books for conversation. It's books for my heart. I don't even put bamboo sparks on it because in case it don't come out looking all too professional, I don't want the bamboo sparks imprint to get no bad name. So I create a new publishing company or publishing name called an imprint called Esperanza Publication. Esperanza is Spanish for hope. And so these are all Esperanza publication. I'm writing for the heart. My novels, when I wrote my novels, the joy that I experienced, I can't put it into words. And there's just this compulsion to write. Nobody is pushing me. I'm not competing with anybody. I say I want to write 12 books this year. Have published 12 books, and I'm doing it. One of them is a co-written book, and so that took maybe about 3 months. But we're talking about the 24-hour books. So I decide on the topic and the type of book. Then I create an outline, which is you just brainstorm the topics and what you want, and an overview, meaning like, what is the message of this book? What am I trying to get across? So I jot that down, and then the stories and the ideas that come to me, I write without editing. I just write whatever comes to mind. After I finish each chapter, I now put it in ChatGPT as my editor and say, give me feedback on this, refine it. If I don't want it to change a lot, I say, leave my voice, only fix grammar, and it does that. Then now I will put the introduction into ChatGPT for the nonfiction, and I would say create a blurb, the book description, 150 words. Then I would say to ChatGPT, this is the title. Can you come up with some subtitles? Can you give me a hook? You know, a hook is like a tagline for a book. It's like, you know, what is the essence of the book, the main transformation point, what the book going to do for you, what's the promise of the book. And I asked it to design my cover. So I put in my name, the title, and it will give me ideas and ask me what I want. And most time when it spits out a cover, I just accept it and I like it. So I am not trying to vie for people's opinion if these books are good. These are writings for the heart. And I write what I know, what I've tested. So I get feedback sometimes on the first 2 chapters or so, because it's 24 hours, right? You have to have somebody who is available. I remember the first time I wrote a novella for the very first time, it took me 2 days. Then I sent it to a friend, and he said, it is too fast, man. The pace, this is like a waterfall. You need to slow it down. And so I went back, I did research on pacing, character development, because at first time I do it, and then I fixed that. The other novels too, I actually sent him, I sent my sister, I sent my niece the concept. And there's another authorpreneur who got a traditional deal. I will tell her sometimes that I'm starting something, and they just look at the first chapter, the introduction, and then once they say it's good to go, I write. I format with a tool called Atticus. It already has templates. And so all I do is copy and reuse a template that I did before, and I just change up the words. I use the free ISBN. When you're publishing an ebook on Amazon, you don't need any ISBN, by the way. But when I'm doing the print now, the print normally follow like within a week, 10 days, 2 weeks. For some of these books, although the print version don't do yet. Somebody was asking me this week. She supports most of my books. She said, when are you going to have the print versions of some of these books? I said, I don't know, maybe next year. And then Amazon introduced this new thing. Once you have your ebook, they will have the virtual voice, and they will do the audiobook based on the ebooks. So that's how I ended up last week with publishing both the ebook and the print book in a day. It's even less than 24 hours. And I ran the book idea with some people, and they loved it. I listened to the book and it blesses my soul. Some don't really care what anybody else have to say, in a sense. But these books are making impact. I'm getting reviews. I am monetizing some of them. And that's how I do it. I use ChatGPT and I use Canva to finalize my covers, and I publish on Amazon. I think I've covered it. And these are some of the books, all the books written within 24 hours or less. And then these three: Small Book, Big Impact, written and published in 24 hours; $1 Million Book Secrets, written and published in 24 hours, starting without money. So that's what I've been doing. I know some people are joining me live. Do you have any questions, any comments, anything I said that you didn't understand, anything I need to explain further? So where do my book ideas come from? Some of them I have been toying with them for years now, like Unshackled Queen. But my aim in writing is to help, teach, give hope. I am sharing my experiences, what I've learned that have kept me alive, that give me hope, that have made a difference in my life. So I use my life as the basis, right? And then for the novels, I just use stories of people around me. Like I met a couple who got married, who met at a funeral. So the book Between Goodbye and Hello is based on this, is based on that. Not everything to match the people's life. I make up some parts of it, but in terms of the idea, Between Goodbye and Hello is based on that. 5 Days Forever is actually, part of it is based on my story of getting engaged quickly and then it fell apart. But the details are changed, right? And what's the other one I wrote fast? And then, like I say, I use ChatGPT as my editor without paying somebody. So how much have I spent on these? $0. Because I use ChatGPT to edit. Not for all of them. I pay for the paid version, right? So that's $20. And I only begin to pay when I'm printing. So I will send it to the a local printery to print so that I can read it, to make sure for the print version everything is okay. How fast do I do my print version? It depends. For this book, where is it? $1 Million Book Secrets. Within 10 days, the print version was available. For Small Book, Big Impact, within 2 weeks. Hi, Cheryl. The print version was available because, like I said, I have to print it because you always miss things on the screen, and failure to print the book and read it has resulted in a lot of financial loss for me. One project over $1 million to correct it because we had to pull back the books that were already printed and reprint. And so that is why they are in ebook format. And I know a lot of people want the print. I have to take my time. And then when I'm doing the print, I can take the free Amazon ISBN, or I can go to the National Library and order a batch of ISBN. Anything else? So it's most of the books is in 24 hours, but a few of them, at least 3 of them, were written and published in 24 hours. And then when I get feedback, I'm getting reviews and they're not too bad, but I didn't care about the reviews. Something is just pushing me to write. Writing is giving me joy. I'm also writing to have conversations. Some of these, I feel they are divine downloads that when I go to speak, I actually speak about what I've already written. 2 weeks ago, I preached at church and I actually preached from one of the books, The Banana Tree Story, that is in the Design to Win book series, and it was impactful. So some of the messages that I deliver when I'm speaking or preaching, they're already in the books. So I have a writing workshop coming up on Saturday. This overseas group has invited me to do a writing workshop. It's free, but guess what? Most of the ideas that I'm going to share are from the book, The Rocket Writer, which is $2.99. Or if you sign up for the course, which is free, you actually get the PDF. So I feel like something is just driving me. I know even if it blesses one person, it is okay. But like starting without money, I have been listening to that book over and over to feed my faith, because come next year, I'm going to take on some big projects and I don't have the money. And so these testimonies that I write encourage me. The book Designed to Win Roadmap 2, I remember, sometimes you feel like you're too old to do certain things. I go back and I listen to the book and the stories of people who reinvent and do things in their older years. And the book encouraged me. It's my book, but it encourages me. The novels, I read them. I read them over and over. Or I have this ebook tool that once I save it as a PDF, it will play it for me and it will use the AI to read it to me. And I would listen to these books over and over. I love audiobooks too. So some of my own books that Amazon has put into audio, I go and buy them. And I listen to them. So I'm a fan of my own writing. Is that conceited? I don't know, call it what you will, but I feel like these are divine um download. So from December last year to now, the books are under Esperanza publication. And I'm writing for the heart. I'm writing to give people hope, healthy optimism to persevere to the end. That's my story. And if you want me to do an individual session with you, I can do that. But coming November, I'm going to have what we call the Small Book Big Impact Challenge. So I changed it from rocket writing because sometimes that intimidates people. So you can decide that you're going to write a children's book, a poetry book. It doesn't matter the size, as long as when you publish it, we can get 24 pages. I'm going to have that in my Indie Authorpreneurs Facebook group, and I'm going to throw it out generally. And so, like the first person to finish their book or the first 3, I'm going to give some special prizes. And then the first person, I'm going to challenge somebody to actually write and publish a book in 30 days. I don't know if anybody wants to take on writing and publishing a small book for a big impact in 24 hours. If you do that, I'll publish a book for you I'll work with you individually and get it done. If you're able to replicate it, both write it and publish it, I will hold your hand. So you would have to tell me your start time and where you are. I would help you quickly with that. It's hard when you're doing a 24-hour sprint to really get adequate feedback. But if you want to run a chapter by me, if you're taking on that challenge, so I'm going to ask persons who want to do the 24-hour writing and publishing challenge, who wants to publish a small book for a big impact within 30 days. Yeah. I will help you to that. If you finish write the book and then you want to publish it, we'll definitely be helping. And then each week I'm going to have, I think every Thursday, I'm going to be doing a writing sprint where we're going to come online virtually, and I'm actually going to be working on a book, because I have several other books to write, books that I'm co-authoring. Um, we have a book coming out in November, Making Sense of 9 to 5. I'm writing that with somebody in Asia. Um, it's a lot happening. So some books will be co-authored, or I just continue writing as I feel like. But I'm actually going to focus for next year on converting all of these ebooks to print books, because people want the print books. And guess what? When you go to speak, it's the print book people want. Yes, Cheryl, you are in. Very good. And finally, what I forget my train of thought. Small book, big impact challenge. I am going to be prepping persons for that. And that's November. So I'm going to send you the course. The audio book is free. I'm going to give us some writing tips, and I'm going to host writing sprints come November. And so, yes, if you would like me to do a writing workshop or to speak, what I'm doing now, I'm not charging for speaking. What I'm encouraging persons to do, buy at least 10 books. I have 37 books. Either get your audience to pay for it, or you pay for it as the organization, and I will speak. If it's not online, if I have to travel, then you can cover my travel expenses and my accommodation. If it is corporate, it's not 10 books. You have to buy more than 10. But to get me to come to speak on anything that I've written about, you have to buy some of my books. That is the criteria. So go to extramileja.com/Ruth's Bookshop. That is where my books are. Let me take you. That's my author page. extramileja.com is my author page. I'm going to show that and end with that. And you can see my latest releases. I still have 3 more books to come out for this year. They're already written, not formatted yet, but you can see. So you can go to my page, extramileja.com, and it's my author site. You can download the course, free writing course, How to Write a Book in 24 Hours or 30 Days. That's a free masterclass. And these are the latest books. If you want to see most of my books, because not all of them are still in print, you can go to my bookshop, and I have uploaded at least 20 or 25 of them are here. So if you want me to speak, you can just patronize me, cover my transportation, buy some of my books. My books are anywhere from $2.99. The print book, by the way, not the ebook. It's the print books. The lowest is like $10.95 or 1,000 Jamaican dollars. And the highest, I have a book for 7,000, the hardcover. That is Authorpreneur Secrets, because I use that for training. But the paperback is $35 or 5,000 Jamaican. So that's my rocket writing story. Thanks for joining me live, Cheryl. That's it for today's broadcast. Remember, of making many books, Ecclesiastes 12:12b said, there is no end. Therefore, go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. Ta for now, until next time. Bye.